Rain has a way of revealing truths. That night, the rain didn't fall gently. It crashed down from the sky like it was angry, like it knew something terrible was happening. I stood there, barefoot, my dress soaked and clinging to my skin, my hands shaking not just from the cold, but from disbelief. The man walking away from me was my husband, the man who had once promised to protect me from the storms of life, had just abandoned me inside one. "Learn your lesson," he said without turning back. His words were colder than the rain. From the outside, everyone thought we had the perfect marriage. My husband, Daniel, was respected in our community. Well-spoken, confident, successful. People used to say, "You're lucky to have a man like him." What they didn't see was the way his smile disappeared behind closed doors. They didn't see how love slowly turned into control. At first, it was small things. "You talk too much." "You embarrass me." "Why can't you be like other wives?" Each sentence was like a tiny crack in my heart. But I told myself, all marriages have problems. I didn't know I was slowly disappearing. That evening, we were invited to a family dinner. I spent hours preparing, cooking his favorite meal, ironing his clothes, making sure everything was perfect. But perfection was never enough for him. At the table, someone joked about how quiet I had become. Daniel laughed. Then he said it, loud enough for everyone to hear. "She's useless without me. She wouldn't survive a day on her own." The table went silent. I felt my face burn with shame. I tried to laugh it off. But inside, something broke. When we got into the car, I whispered, "Why would you say that?" That's when his eyes changed. "You think you deserve respect?" He snapped. "You need to be taught humility." The sky growled above us. Thunder followed us like a warning. He drove faster. My heart pounded harder with every second. Suddenly, he slammed the brakes. "Get out." I thought he was joking. I said, "Get out." The rain exploded against the windshield. "Daniel, please?" "It's raining," I begged. He opened my door. "This will teach you your place." And just like that, I was outside. The car sped away, leaving nothing behind but splashing water and darkness. I stood there, frozen. The road was empty. The night was loud. The rain soaked into my bones. I called his phone. No answer. Again. Nothing. Felt small. Worthless. Exactly how he wanted me to feel. I crouched near a broken street light, hugging myself. Every drop of rain felt like another reminder. You are alone. But destiny had other plans. Through the rain, I saw headlights. Slow, careful. A vehicle stopped nearby. The door opened. A deep voice called out, "Madam, are you all right?" I looked up. Standing there was an older man, tall and strong, his face marked by time and wisdom. He wore a worn jacket, his posture calm but powerful. Something about him felt safe. I was left here," I whispered. I was left here," I whispered. His eyes darkened. "No one should ever be left like this." He held out his hand. "Come, you are not alone anymore." As I stepped into his car, warmth slowly returned to my body. But what I didn't know was this. Cet man Wassinger, he was about to change my life and completely destroy my husband's illusion of power. That night, the rain wasn't just falling from the sky. It was falling inside Amina's heart. The red taillights of the car faded into the darkness, growing smaller and smaller, until they disappeared completely. The road was empty, no houses, no streetlights. Just endless rain, wet asphalt, and the sound of the forest breathing around her. Amina took one step forward, then stopped. "This isn't real," she whispered to herself. "He wouldn't do this to me." But reality stood in front of her, cold and unforgiving. Her husband, the man who once promised to protect her, had left her alone on a deserted road in the middle of the night. Not because she committed a crime, not because she betrayed him, but because he wanted to teach her a lesson. His words echoed in her ears, sharp and cruel. "You talk too much. A woman needs to learn her place." At that moment Amina had tried to speak, but fear, shock, and the pounding rain stole her voice. Her hands trembled as she wrapped her wet scarf tighter around herself. Was this marriage? Was es love? Her phone slipped in her hand. The screen flickered once, then went black. Dead battery. No signal. Amina looked around helplessly. The jungle on both sides of the road felt alive, branches swaying. Strange sounds whispering from the darkness. Every raindrop that struck her face felt like a reminder of how small and alone she was. As she stood there soaking and shivering, her mind drifted backward. Samuel wasn't always like this. There was a time when he smiled easily when he held her hand and said, "Amina, you're my strength." But slowly things changed. First his tone, then his patience, then his respect, until love turned into control, and control turned into punishment. Tonight was not an accident. It was a warning. L. And for the first time, Amina felt something deeper than fear. Clarity. She started walking. Each step felt heavier than the last. Water filled her shoes. The cold cut through her skin, sinking into her bones. Her teeth chattered, but she kept moving because stopping felt even more terrifying. "Please, God, send someone," she whispered into the rain. Suddenly, a faint glow appeared in the distance. Headlights. Amina froze. Her heart pounded violently. Was it Samuel coming back? Or our stranger? The light grew brighter, closer, then stopped. A car door opened. A deep, steady voice broke through the rain. "My child, what are you doing here at this hour?" Amina tried to answer, but her throat closed. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with the rain. The man stepped closer, took off his jacket, and gently placed it over her shoulders. There was no anger. In his voice, only concern. "No woman should be alone on a road like this, not ever." "Said was it?" Amina collapsed into tears, not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, broken sobs, the kind that come when someone has held pain for far too long. Who was this man? You stranger, or someone sent by fate? And Samuel? Did he really believe this night would end without consequences? Because somewhere far away a lesson was coming, just not the one he expected. The man didn't rush her. He didn't ask too many questions. He simply opened the car door and said softly, "Sit inside. You're freezing." Amina hesitated for a second. Every lesson life had taught her screamed, "Be careful." But her body was shaking uncontrollably, and something about the man's eyes, calm, steady, fatherly, made her trust him. She got into the car. The warmth hit her immediately. The heater hummed gently, and for the first time since Samuel drove away, Amina could feel her fingers again. The man handed her a bottle of water. "Drink slowly." She obeyed, Only after her breathing settled did he speak again. "Now tell me," he said, "how a married woman ends up alone on this road." "In Serain." At first, Amina said nothing. Her lips trembled, her eyes fixed on the foggy windshield, where rain traced endless lines downward, just like the tears she had been holding back for years. Then, quietly, she spoke. "He left him." The man frowned slightly. "Left you?" "Yes. He whispered. "To teach me a lesson." Silence filled the car. Not the awkward kind, but the heavy kind. The kind where truth settles between two people. After a long pause, the man asked, "What lesson did he think pain would teach you?" That question broke something inside her. Amina told him everything. About the insults disguised as jokes, the control disguised as care, the anger disguised as authority, and finally, about the car stopping, the door opening, and Samuel's last words before driving away. "Maybe the rain will make you humble." The man's jaw tightened. He didn't shout. He didn't curse. But something in his expression changed. "My name is Ezekiel," he said calmly. "And no man has the right to abandon his wife like that. Not anywhere. Not ever." Amina looked at him closely now. His clothes were simple but clean. His hands were rough hands of someone who worked hard. There was authority in his voice, not loud, but unshakable. "Who are you?" she asked quietly. Ezekiel smiled faintly. "Someone who has seen too many women break in silence." He didn't take her to the police station. He didn't take her to a hotel. Instead, he drove toward a small, well-lit compound at the edge of town. "My sister lives here," he explained. "She helps women in trouble." Amina's heart pounded again this time, with uncertainty. But when the door opened, a kind-faced woman rushed forward, wrapping Amina in a warm blanket before she could even speak. "Oh, my dear," the woman said softly. "You're safe now." Safe. The word felt unfamiliar. Later that night, wrapped in dry clothes and holding a warm cup of tea. Amina's phone buzzed, power restored. One missed call. Inaza. Samuel. She stared at the screen. For years, she would have answered immediately, apologized even when she did nothing wrong. But tonight, her hands didn't move. Instead, a new call came in. "Mom!" Amina's breath caught. She answered, "Mom!" Her mother's voice came through, shaking with worry. Amina's eyes filled with tears again, but these were different. Relief? Validation. Truth finally reaching the light. "Yes, Mom," she whispered. "I'm okay now." Across town, Samuel was pacing his living room. He had expected fear, begging, obedience. What he did not expect was that someone else had stepped in, and that his actions had already begun traveling faster than he could control. Ezekiel stood near the doorway, listening quietly. When Amina ended the call, he spoke one final sentence that night. "Men who use pain to control always forget one thing." She looked up at him. "What?" He met her gaze. Pain has a way of calling witnesses. And somewhere in the darkness, Samuel's lesson was about to return to him. Multiplied. Samuel sat alone in the living room, the ticking clock louder than his thoughts. At first, he felt satisfied. He told himself this was necessary, that discipline built respect, that fear kept order. She come back apologizing, he muttered. "They always do." But the silence stretched longer than expected. No calls, no messages, no desperate apologies. Just nothing. Then his phone rang. He smiled, already preparing his cold, superior tone. But when he saw the caller ID, his smile vanished. Mother-in-law. He answered cautiously. Yes, Mama? Her voice was sharp nothing, like the gentlewoman he was used to. Where is my daughter? Samuel hesitated. She's fine. She needed some space. Silence. Then, do not lie to me. His heart skipped. A man called me last night. He said he found her alone on the highway. In Seraing. Samuel swallowed hard. I was just trying to teach her. You abandoned her. She cut in. That is not teaching. That is cruelty. Before he could respond, the call ended. The room suddenly felt smaller. Samuel stood up and paced. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He had always controlled the narrative. He decided what was right, what was wrong. But now, other voices were entering the story. His phone buzzed again. A message from his cousin. Is it true you left Amina on the road at night? Benaza. People are talking. Samuel's chest tightened. WHO told them. Across town, Ezekiel sat with Amina and his sister, Miriam. They didn't rush her. They didn't pressure her. They listened. Every detail. Every insult. Every threat disguised as love. Miriam took notes quietly. This is not just emotional abuse, she said calmly. This is endangerment. Amina's hands shook. I don't want revenge, she whispered. I just want it to stop. Ezekiel nodded. Then we do this the right way. By morning, whispers had turned into conversations. At his market, at his church, at the places Samuel believed still respected him. People looked at him differently now. Not with admiration, but with questions. At work, his supervisor called him into the office. Samuel, is there something going on at home? Samuel forced a laugh. Just family drama. The supervisor leaned back. Because a community advocate came by this morning. Asked about you. Samuel's blood ran cold. That evening, there was a knock on his door. Firm, calm, unafraid. Samuel opened it and froze. Ezekiel stood there. Not angry, not threatening. Just solid, certain. We need to talk. Samuel scoffed. Who are you to interfere in my marriage? Ezekiel didn't raise his voice. I'm the man who picked your wife off the highway while you drove away. The words hit like a slap. Samuel tried to speak, but nothing came out. You thought fear would make her small, Ezekiel continued. Instead, it made the truth loud. He handed Samuel an envelope. Read sis. Inside were statements, witness names, a formal complaint. Samuel's hands trembled. This is unnecessary, he sighed weakly. I was just trying to correct her behavior. Ezekiel's eyes hardened. Women are not behavior problems to be corrected. For the first time in years, Samuel felt something unfamiliar. Not anger. Fear. Because control depends on silence. And silence was gone. As Ezekiel turned to leave, he said one last thing. You wanted to teach a lesson. Now the lesson has found you. Samuel closed the door slowly. Outside, the rain began again. But this time, it wasn't Amina standing alone. Rain fell again that night. Not violently, not angrily, just enough to remind Samuel of the road and the woman he had left behind. He sat alone, staring at the envelope Ezekiel had given him. Every page felt heavier than the last. Statements, witnesses, dates, truth written clearly, without emotion. For the first time in his life, Samuel realized something terrifying. He was no longer in control of the story. All his life, Samuel believed strength meant dominance, that authority came from fear, that a wife's silence was respect. But now, silence had turned against him. The house fell empty, not because Amina wasn't there, but because his power wasn't either. He remembered her standing in the rain, wet, shaking, begging him to stop. And for the first time, he felt shame. Real shame. Not because people were watching, but because he finally saw himself. Across town, Amina woke up to sunlight streaming through the window. No shouting, no tension, no fear of saying the wrong thing. Just quiet. She sat on the edge of the bed, breathing deeply, as if learning how to exist again. Miriam brought her tea and sat beside her. You don't have to decide anything today, she said gently. Healing is not rushed. Amina nodded. For years, she had lived according to someone else's rules. Today, she would listen to her own heart. Later that afternoon, her phone rang. Samuel? Her hands trembled, but she answered. Hello? His voice was different. Lower. Uncertain. Amina, I need to talk. She stayed silent. I was wrong, he said slowly. What I did was cruel. I thought control made me a man. But it made me a coward. Tears filled her eyes, but her voice stayed steady. You didn't just leave me in the rain, she said. You left me believing I had no worth. There was a long pause. I don't expect forgiveness, Samuel said. I just want to take responsibility. For the first time, he wasn't demanding anything. That evening, Amina stood alone outside. The air was calm, the sky clear. She thought about love, about marriage, about forgiveness. Forgiveness, she realized, doesn't always mean returning. Sometimes, it means releasing yourself. She met Samuel one last time, not as a victim, but as a woman who knew her value. I forgive you, she said quietly, but I choose a different future. Samuel nodded and walked away. Systeme. He was the one left behind. Months passed. Amina began working with Miriam, helping other women find safety and voice. She spoke at small gatherings, shared her story not with anger, but with truth. Each time she spoke, she felt lighter, stronger, free. Ezekiel once said to her, "The strongest people are not those who never fall, but those who stand up and refuse to be broken again." She smiled, because she finally understood. If someone ever tries to teach you a lesson through pain, remember, sis, love does not humiliate, strength does not abandon, and real power never needs cruelty. Sometimes, the storm is not sent to destroy you. The strongest people are not those who never fall, but those who stand up and refuse to be broken again. She smiled, because she finally understood. If someone ever tries to teach you a lesson through pain, remember, sis, love does not humiliate, strength does not abandon, and real power never needs cruelty. Sometimes, the storm is not sent to destroy you, but to reveal who will protect you, and who never deserved you. He left her in the rain to teach her a lesson, but fate sent a protector instead, and the lesson changed him forever.